Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Build Different podcast. With me, as always, just Tristan.
Very
Um,
special today. Very intimate.
yeah, as you can see, it's just Tristan and myself today. Looks like we're going to have to try and carry this podcast as per usual, but they're just taking a leave of absence. Ryan and Will just got some business to attend to. But we will do our best to keep you entertained for the hour.
Yep.
We'll have to see how that goes, Tristan. What do you think? Where do you think we want to go?
We'll see who the real entertaining people in the podcast are now. The real true colors are going to
We're either
start.
going to get like heaps more viewers, or it's going to decline very rapidly.
We don't even have to tell anybody this episode's out. We just
Yeah, well, then we'll truly see what happens. And we're either going to start our own thing, or it's just we're going to be the Justin Timberlake.
it could be the start of something beautiful. I think.
Not
It could be the start of something
that we don't miss them. We miss you guys, all right? We wish you were here.
Yeah. No, we do.
We'll have to see how long we can carry a conversation for an hour. But
I think we'll be fine.
so I guess we can just talk about the Brownlow. I know some of our listeners might be interested, others may not. So we'll just touch on it just quickly. What do you think?
Ollie Wine's very deserved. I think.
Never in doubt, in my opinion. Never in doubt.
Never. Oh, you know what? There was a couple of rounds where I thought Bontempelli's got this.
No. Once you get to the last 4 rounds, man, the Dogs screwed it up. If they had not lost 4 games in a row, they 100% would have won it.
There was a big game in particular that they lost. That really
2 meter, Peter. 2 meter, Peter. 2 meter, Peter.
Kicked an absolute bag. I think kicked 7 goals.
Yeah, and then he kicked 0 the next game.
Yeah, that's okay. All we needed him was to kick 7 that game.
I know that because I bet on that game.
But no, I think he deserved it. Zach Merritt, one of my favourite players of all time, really let me down because I lost a bet because of him. He was meant to come 10th and he came 11th.
There was a little equal ties though.
It was, yeah, but Sportsbet didn't look at it like that, and then they said, "No, it's in the order that it's in." I tried to. I was going to challenge him. I was going to give him a call to listen to all my money. I thought, yeah, yeah, VAR.
Yeah.
Other than that, I always enjoy the Brownlow. People complain that it's too long, but I love it. It's like a recap of the entire season, and it's just,
Bro, honestly, it makes you realize how fast the year has gone.
well, yeah. I mean, for one,
Because
but as well as that,
like we look at the round and we're like, oh, that game was that long ago. Like I remember it like yesterday.
Yeah.
But it was like,
I can't believe that was round 2. Can't believe that was round 3. That kind of stuff.
yeah. Honestly, I didn't watch it that much. I barely watched it. I was on my computer, and it's only broadcasted on TV, which is really annoying.
Yeah, that was silly. 2021, you can only watch the Brownlow on TV.
Yeah, it's some sort of licensing thing that's messed up.
I always think it's like it's a really, really good precursor to the grading as well, because when the Brownlow's here, it's grand final, and that's it. This is the grand final.
We're wrapping things up at the beginning of the end.
That's it. You're getting hyped for it, and you're watching all the Melbourne and Western Bulldogs players just drinking water.
Yeah, because they're all there as well because it's the grannies there. Yeah,
this is happening.
What do you think about the grand final, mate? Who have you got for this weekend?
I've got the D's. I've got a lot of family members that go for Melbourne, and I'm really rapt for them that it's their time. Not a fan of the Dogs or the Dog supporters. No, I'm a fan of the Dogs. I like Bont and I like Libba.
Yeah.
Love Caleb Daniel, love Aaron Norton, but
Baslenka
and Bailey Spazlenka, very good looking human being too. But I've got a lot of friends.
That guy should be in this podcast.
Let's get him on.
You'll feel different.
Let's get him on. I'll give him a call. Once we're done, I'll give him a quick buzz.
I know you know some of them. I know you know someone that knows him.
No, I don't think he knows. Technically, but we're not going there.
I mean, I saw him at Chinatown once. Does that count as knowing him?
You should have gotten his number for the podcast.
I should have. That was like 2 years ago. I should have been like, hey, 2 years from now, I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to need you on it.
Yeah, no, I reckon Melbourne's got it. I reckon Melbourne's going to take it. Maxi Gorn's too strong.
Yeah. I hope it's a close final. I hope it's going to be a very entertaining one. But I do want Melbourne to win. Yeah. Only because, like, I like the Dogs as well. I like their team. Most of them, anyway. I think Cholo's got a weird head. But yeah, I like the Dogs. But I mean, they did win in 2016, and Melbourne's, it's been 21 years since they lost to us. So
yeah,
I think they deserve a shot, and they've played really well. I like their players. track.
Yeah,
Track's a beast.
Yeah, they're all good.
Yeah.
They're all. I like Melbourne. And we have a couple of soft spots for a few Melbourne players in Michael Hibberd and Jake Melksham because they used to
Yes.
play for us.
The OGs.
But no, I'm pretty excited for footy. But I'm also sad that footy's about to finish.
Yeah, but basketball starts in less than a month.
For basketball starts, I'm slowly getting more and more depressed because all these teams are being put together in the basketball. And I look at us at the Memphis Grizzlies and I'm like, who did we get that's really good? And I'm like, wow, Steven Adams.
Memphis Grizzlies are paying for like half a Laker team.
Yeah, I know.
God, should be right, man. You got Ja.
We got Ja, we got Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bain.
Maybe in 5 years or so, you'll be.
We'll see. We'll see how we go. It's exciting, still exciting. What else do I have to look for? Oh, my birthday's in a couple of weeks. How exciting is that?
Yeah, very exciting, mate. Maybe we'll be able to go get some drinks, mate.
Oh, fingers crossed. The big T-man's turning 26. The macho man, El Jefe.
El Jefe.
I'm getting old.
You can't say that.
I'm going to start losing my hair.
Your beard hair.
My beard hair. Don't say that. Don't say that. I look like a thumb.
Do you reckon if you get older, like it'll start graying, like the beard?
Yeah. I hope so. I reckon it's
look good.
I reckon it's a good tinge to it if it goes grey. Gives it a bit of a distinguished look. If I can't have the salt and pepper hair, I kind of want the salt and pepper beard.
Yeah, it looks good. I think it'll look good. Worst case, a little bit of spray paint.
A little bit of spray will, But I'm not too stressed about it as long as it just stays.
It'll stay, mate. It'll stay.
The new Three Musketeers look going.
I like it, mate.
Thanks.
It was a bit. We had a bit of a wardrobe, makeup and wardrobe malfunction prior to the podcast, but
I had to go into the makeup van real quick, and I had to pop up. I had to fix up my beard real quick. It was a bit lopsided.
It was like this.
I had to. So it's like that. I had to pull out the level.
Manscaped. Hey, Manscaped. Can you use the Manscaped on that?
No, I'm not going to use Manscaped on that. I don't have Manscaped, but if I did, I wouldn't use it on my face. Yeah, Manscaped sponsor us so we can use our ball shavers on our face.
It should be multifunctional, though. I mean, why have it if you can't use it anywhere you want? There.
Oh no, I think it is, but I think it's just the whole. Why would you?
Why wouldn't you?
Because I don't want my balls on my face.
Yeah, but
I mean, if I had to choose anyone's balls, I'd rather them be mine. But if I didn't have to choose, I just don't want my balls on my face. All right, we're off to a good start for the podcast. Thanks for watching, guys. All the best.
I hope we haven't lost you there, but if you're still around, we've got actually some very serious conversation coming up ahead.
Just hit the fast forward a couple of times and we'll be past this ball talk.
Look, if anyone's actually made it this far, then I'll be very surprised.
We thank you.
Yeah, because honestly, Ryan's speech really carries it a lot of the times with his vocalness towards certain topics. You know what? Every topic, he just has to contribute to everything.
His eloquence. He has a lot of eloquence when he talks.
I mean, others would argue that he just sounds like a prick, but
they don't know him. They don't know Ryan like we do.
Yeah, look, if anyone's watching or has watched these podcasts and looks at Ryan and thinks he's a prick, you're right.
You're right.
But it's not because of how he talks. Okay,
it's completely different. It's completely different.
It's not because of how it talks. There's other reasons.
It's because of how he acts.
Can't really disclose here without being cancelled, but no, we're just kidding. We love Ryan. He's a great guy. And then Will as well. We missing out on him and his ice eating.
Yeah. If you don't think Will's a prick, you're wrong. No, we're all pricks in our own way.
Look, if you watched the last podcast, we know that Will was eating ice. It was ice. That's what I was eating. It was ice. Okay, it wasn't like chips or anything. It was ice.
It was ice.
He wasn't. He didn't know. If you actually go to that part, you can see Tristan and I looking at each other through the screen, even though like we're not in the same spot, same like space in the monitor.
We knew exactly what we were
looking directly into the camera, like,
yeah,
what is this kid doing?
Oh my days! But you know what? We're budding. We're young podcasters. Yeah.
I mean, we wouldn't have learned these things if we hadn't started.
100%.
Like, so
it's been fun so far. I mean, we can always touch on a little journey.
So I mean, like, look, like, again, when we first recorded that first episode, it wasn't meant to be public. It wasn't meant to be something that was beginning. Like it wasn't meant to be the actual start of the podcast. I originally wanted to do it just because um, I wanted us to get comfortable just talking for an hour, seeing how we went, seeing because obviously it's easiest to learn when you're doing things.
Yeah,
Um, like as a teacher, I know that for sure as well. That just you learn a lot more when you're in the act of doing that thing that you're trying to learn.
correct.
You can prepare for something as much as you want, but you can never be, fully prepared. Like what Alex was saying last week, parenting, like it's just you got to do it sometimes.
That's it. Just jump into the deep end and you'll learn on the
Mm,
way.
yeah, but yeah, we're definitely looking for. Obviously, once we're out of lockdown and we're doing this in person, I feel like it will be much easier. And I'm definitely really, really looking forward to it. I feel like that would be the real start of the podcast. It'll feel like the next part of it.
Yeah,
Like right now, we're in our little cocoon phase, and then once we're in person doing our thing.
it's going to be a big step.
Yeah.
It's just going to flow a lot easier. There's going to be less delays. Like, I think when there's four of us in a room, the body language is going to change and the way we
Mm,
talk, and it's not going to be it. Look, not that it comes across as awkward, but it does feel awkward to a certain degree.
yeah.
So I think
Like
that's
yeah,
definitely
we try our best like on this platform to make it seem as natural as possible. And you
yeah,
guys have been really like, you guys listening have been really positive towards the podcast so far and saying that's really good, and we appreciate that a lot. But when you're doing it, you feel like it just feels off. It's the same way when I'm in a Zoom class and people are talking and I want to add in, but I don't want to stop them
yeah,
as they're talking. And you're like, but then if I don't, the class is over and I haven't said anything.
100%.
So yeah, it's kind
And
of like that.
it's just difficult sometimes. Like it's just. But once we're in person, it's good. But I think we're still doing quite well here. We've got people that are enjoying watching us. We're getting comments on every video, which is awesome. Thank you so much for the support to those people. Um, but yeah, no, we're going to keep going. We're really enjoying it, and as long as we're enjoying it, we're going to keep doing it, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely it's both easy and hard. Easy in that
Yeah.
it's fun to do because it's just the reason we started it is just because we wanted to have fun and we're still having fun. But
Mm.
then there's all these other things that you don't think about until you've started it and you're like, oh, I should have done this before we started. I should have done that before we started, and just a lot of things. Even the name of the podcast, we just chose anything at the start, and now we're like, Well, personally, I'm like, maybe we should change it because there are other podcasts called this. If you go on YouTube and you like write in the build different podcasts, there's like two other ones, and I'm like, it doesn't
Yeah,
bother me because we're better.
but we're heaps better. But the thing is, and the thing that the listeners need to understand is, we got this name from the group chat that we're all in. All the boys are in, and I think it was Ryan that started saying it, saying, "Don't listen to them. You're built different. You're built different."
It's a meme, honestly.
Yeah, I think it became
it's
the
just love
meme,
as a meme.
and then it became the name of the group chat. And then from there, once we decided that we were going to start the podcast, I feel like it was a no brainer at first. Let's just call it Built Different.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think it's just more of a work in progress. We'll keep going. Maybe if we make our transition to Spotify, we can mix it up a little bit. We'll see.
yeah. Which I'm looking into doing soon, so keep an eye out for that one. Once we're on Spotify, I'll feel legit. We can be like same level as Joe Rogan podcast, mate.
Ooh, we're getting a couple $1 million deal with
Yeah,
Spotify.
but then again, when he left Spotify, he left a huge hole on YouTube,
True, he did. It's
which we could also take over.
we could take up that hole that Joe Rogan's like. I'll look like Joe Rogan to a certain degree, so we can take it. But also keep an eye out for our Instagram page, which should be going up tonight, which will be providing you with updates on the podcasts, questions and stuff that we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah,
Um,
we definitely would want some more involvement from the audience.
yeah,
Just hearing from you guys, hearing what you think or what you want us to talk about next.
that's it. Topics you want to hear is a pretty big one that we'd love to put out there. Um, and yeah, we'll just kind of keep you posted on that kind of stuff. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah,
Big things coming, hopefully. I'm still thinking about how I'm going to promote this properly. Because at this stage, it is just the people that are viewing this
yeah,
that I've trained it to. But, we'll see how we go. Again, once we move on to in person, I think it will change.
we'll get
Yeah.
there. We still got to do images and stuff like that before we chuck it all out there.
Hmm.
But yeah,
All right. I guess we can move on to the main topic.
The main
Um,
topic.
well, just a little context in this. Obviously, we've got no Ryan and Will here, so we thought that the topic that was, I guess, we had in common for both of Tristan and I was that we're both looking to be teachers.
Yeah.
So I guess we're just going to talk about just a background, I guess, how we came to that decision, why we chose it, and just our experience so far. I
Yeah.
think that's a good place to start. Um, did you want to kick it off first, just because you're starting it now, so you're sort of more fresh in your mind in terms of like why you wanted to do it, or
Yeah, of course. I guess mine comes a little bit of backstory about growing up, which I've touched on a couple of podcasts ago, but my reasoning came from not knowing what I wanted to do, which in a sense kind of turned into me knowing what I wanted to do. So ever since coming out of, well, in high school, I was very bored, used that excuse. School's not for me, school's just not for me. I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. Never did homework.
yep,
Always, I'd put more effort into coming up with a lie about why I never did homework rather than actually doing the homework.
yeah,
I wasn't a bad kid, like in terms of, I never started fights or anything like that. School to me was a social event. That's the best way to put it. School to me was a social event where I could chat with my friends, and then there were these adults there that would sometimes interrupt our conversation.
yeah. You'd be like,
They were trying to do something like teach or something like that.
yeah,
But
you go in the, especially those Monday mornings, you're like, oh, what are you doing on the weekend? Blah, blah, blah. You just
yeah,
talking to them, and then the teacher would be like, all right, this is not a social gathering. Please, like,
and you're like,
settle
what do you
down, kid.
mean? You're obviously misinformed. This is a social gathering. No.
You're wrong. Yeah,
Um, so I never knew what I wanted to do. I never put any thought into my future at all whatsoever. I never thought what's going to happen once, and I know a lot of people do that as well. But once I left high school, I didn't get an ATAR either.
or
I didn't.
unscored or
Yeah, I did unscored. Well,
unscored.
we called at my high school called the S program, where as long as you passed everything, you didn't have to do exams. You'd get a certificate of graduation, but you wouldn't get an ATAR. So
Interesting.
I actually didn't decide to do that, but I hit a point where I missed, because I used to miss school. I never wagged, like I never left school, but I used to just stay at home a lot. My poor mum would go out early in the morning to go to work, and I'd just decide once I got to the point where I had to take myself to school. My brother wasn't around because he was a chef at the time.
Yeah.
I just some days I just wouldn't get up, and I don't know what you'd call it.
You
Some
know what's
people,
weird about that? Like once you do that for the first time,
Hmm.
it gets easier to do it the second
Oh,
time. You're just like,
100%.
I didn't go yesterday, so then and nothing happened, so I can just do it again today.
Yeah,
And then
100%. And it's like I'd just stay home and I'd do nothing, and then it was very lazy. Like obviously, if I could go, hindsight's 2020. If I could go back, I'd change it all. But even then, and the worst part was I had a lot of good supportive teachers
yeah,
that were kind of like, "Why aren't you coming to school? What's the go?" And you get the same thing every time. You're such a great person, like you're really switched on, but you're just not. You're just lazy. So I never went to school. So then I hit a point where they were like, "Listen, you miss one more class, you fail year 12." And I was like, "Wow." My first thought was, "Wow, my dad's gonna kill me." And then they go, "Unless you do this S program." And so then I was like, "Okay, cool." And this is going into a bit too much depth, but
we
I
love depth. Yeah, to build different
we love
podcasts.
depth. We love bench depth. We love depth in stories a lot.
Depth of character,
Depth of character.
depth of field.
um, my first instinct, and I used to always do this, instead of kind of just going, I stuffed up, I'm owning up to it. I turned to my dad and I said, "Oh, turns out the course that I want to go into, I don't need to have an ATAR, so I'm not going
Mm,
to do my exams."
mm,
Dad was like, whatever. Right. So I've kind of
yeah,
disappointed him at this point, and I'm like, cool. I never really thought about it in that sense of why he was disappointed. I was like, oh, he'll get over it. All good.
yeah.
Glided through it. And I went into the diploma of coaching, I believe. The diploma of coaching, which
Like sports
was
coaching.
sports coaching, which was going to get me into teaching.
Okay.
So my first instinct to come out of school was, people always said I'd be a good teacher. So you know what? I'm just going to become a good teacher.
Yeah.
I'm going to become a teacher. I've never put any thought into what
I'm gonna
pathway
be
I'm going
what
to
they
go down.
expected me to be, or thought that was gonna be
Yeah,
good at.
I never thought of I need to up my game and be at uni all the time and make sure I'm doing my work to be able to pass this.
Mm.
So I did that. Got into it, you know, really took the piss out of this course, this diploma. Did nothing, mucked around, failed essentially.
Yeah.
I didn't go enough and I didn't hand in enough assignments. So I've dropped out. Left Victoria University and I've gone to go, oh, you know what I'd be really good as? Or someone must have said it to me, a personal trainer. Okay, Sage Institute of Fitness, let's go.
Yeah. Okay.
Went to Sage Institute of Fitness and all these people, and I'm like, these guys are losers here. Turns out they're all just really serious about what they wanted to do. And I wasn't. Again. So,
You thought they were losers.
what was that?
You thought they were losers.
Yeah. And I was like, man, these guys are nerds.
Look at these guys trying hard.
I know,
What the
right?
hell?
These guys are trying hard for their future. So I went into it. And look, looking back on it, there was an element of I wasn't interested. But why I wasn't interested was completely different. So then, all this time I'm working here and there, um, not saving any money. And then a couple of years go past, and I'm like, cool, I really need to pull my socks up. I love Essendon. I love my footy. I love sports. I've always been told I'm really good at giving massages. I'm like, let's go into myotherapy. Done. My dream is to work for Essendon one day. Very pipeline dream, right? Jumped into it.
Still possible.
It's possible. I know someone that's worked there, but the issue is they earn nothing.
Really?
They're basically like little helpers that get to touch footy players, which, I mean, I'm not complaining, but still.
He's like, I'll do that for free.
Call me Bombers. And went into myotherapy, but at the same time, I got a job at Vodafone. Now, Vodafone, if you guys know me, was my biggest job I've ever had. Had it for about 4.5 years. Was really good at it because I can talk a lot of nonsense. But again, never had any kind of drive or anything to do with it. So I'd have days where things would just fall into my lap, and they'd be like, "Wow, you did really, really good today, man. Really well done. Like, you are an absolute weapon." And then other days when I'd just do nothing, and I couldn't figure out why. I'm like, "Why? Like, well, what's going on?" Anyway, this is how in depth we're going with this one, Jeanu. I met my now ex-girlfriend
Oh,
at T2.
this is deep. This
This
is
is
deep.
deep. This is deep.
This is where I trench deep.
She worked at T2. I stopped drinking coffee and they used to sell teas there. So I got teas there. Anyway, all that kind of stuff happened. We were dating for about 2.5 years while I was at Vodafone. And then I'm not going to get into the deep stuff of what happened there, but shit hit the fan. I decided I didn't want to work at Vodafone anymore. At the same time, I also decided I didn't want to be in a relationship anymore. What had developed there was, best way to put it was anxiety. So basically, I used to have panic attacks and stuff like that. It hit a point where I couldn't figure out why I was having these panic. Why am I freaking out? I used to be so cool and calm and collected. Why am I freaking out? What's going on? Panic attacks almost every day.
Yeah.
Went to a psychologist, all that kind of stuff. Which again we can touch on another podcast. But basically, it hit a point where I was like, I need to break. She was never the problem, but I need to break up with her. Right? She was great, but I'm like, I've got to break up.
Ah, yes. It's not you. It's me. We're talking about this before.
But this time it wasn't like just a bullshit excuse of it's not you, it's me. It was actually like, listen, I have psychological issues at the moment. I need to fix them. And from having to kind of take 150 steps back and start to listen what's going on in my head and these thought processes and this path that I'm going on, from that, I had to really go bare bones and understand who I was, what I wanted to do.
You had to strip it back.
I had to strip it all the way back, man. It was intense. And for those thinking at home, no, that's not when I lost my hair. It was about a year before that. Okay.
It was factored in. That was part of it.
It definitely wasn't part of it. And I learned all these things by going to a psychologist, things that helped with my anxiety, which was super, super basic that I had never ever thought of learning or never ever thought of doing. But now that when you learn them, you're like, hang on, that seems pretty basic. What do you mean that that's going to help out my anxiety? Things like
Yeah.
stopping and thinking and understanding what's going on through your head and that kind of stuff. So once I started to, meditated and I started to concentrate on all these thoughts going through my head, I started to notice a lot of things and I started to notice that, okay, I might be a bit insecure about this. Sometimes I make jokes when I'm uncomfortable. Why is that? What am I? And the biggest question was, what am I doing? What am I doing and why am I going through this? And it hit a point where I had this weird urge to never want to feel anxious ever again. Now, obviously, I've taken a couple of steps away from that because anxiety is normal. But what I've tailored it down to is this
Different
heightened,
degrees. It's yeah.
yeah, heightened sense of anxiety is what I don't want to feel.
Yeah.
Um, so from there, and looking at these tactics and these ideas that I've used, and I'm like, hang on, why is this so basic, but it's never been taught to anybody? Like anyone I've asked, I've gone, have you used this technique before? And they go, no, not really. You know, I've had friends that come up to me going, you were really anxious previously. I'm feeling really anxious at the moment. Like, what did you do? And I kind of lay it out for them and I go, listen, this is what I've been doing. And they go, wow, that's really good. And I'm like, yeah, but shouldn't we all know this? And then I was talking to my auntie at the time, not at the time, like as in back then I was talking to my auntie. She's still my auntie. Thanks for listening, Auntie Al. And I said to her, I go, ask me what Pythagoras' theorem is. And she goes, what's Pythagoras' theorem? And I said, I've got no fucking clue. And I go, but I learned that in high school.
Yeah.
And I go, now tell me 3 separate breathing techniques. And she goes, I don't know them. And I'm like, here, box breathing, 1, 2, 3, and this other one that I can't think of right now.
Yeah.
I go, how come you didn't know about that? She goes, I just didn't. I go, have you ever had a panic attack before? Yeah, I think everyone has. I go, have you ever used this technique? No. So it hit a point where I was like, imagine the impact that you can have on kids like myself who never really concentrated on what was going on inside their head.
But I think it's like once I can't speak for everyone, but like if you get anxious, you just sort of spiral and you don't, because you said that the things that you learned about managing it was very basic.
Yeah,
It was just going back to thinking about like what it is and just like trying to get through your head what's happening. But
100%.
when you're in the moment, it's hard to get to that point because you're too busy spiraling and thinking about other things that may or may not happen.
Correct.
And that's why taking it back helps with that.
Yeah, because you build those tools and then it's kind of like a roadblock for your anxiety. Instead of this anxiety just coming through like a freight train, you're putting these measures in place going, okay, I'm feeling really anxious. Take a couple of breaths. Cool. That didn't work. I'm going to go for a walk. Cool. That didn't work. Put it this way, and I'm not saying it's foolproof, but 2 years ago, I was having panic attacks every day, right? There was a point 2 years ago where I had my last panic attack. I still get anxious every now and then, but it doesn't overwhelm me anymore because I've got these thought processes and these tools in place.
It's like as you're explaining it, like I visualize it in my head, like you said, like roadblocks instead of
Yeah,
having it go through like all at once. Even if the first thing didn't work, it sort of slows it down a bit. And so it may not be just one thing that stops it. It's going to be the combination of multiple things that slowly gets like,
100%.
stops it and slows it down. And then once you get to that maybe third or fourth roadblock, you're like, oh, I feel better because I've been thinking
Yeah,
about how to stop it. And then that's sort of helped overall.
yeah. And there's little things like knowing that it doesn't last forever and kind of hammering that into your own head and then kind of going, having the confidence in yourself to kind of go, okay, if I feel anxious, this is what I need to do. Or I'm feeling anxious now. There's a lot deeper that you can go into it because I had a lot of problems of why am I feeling anxious? Why searching around going, why am I? And that would make it worse. So sometimes
Yeah.
you could kind of know if it's staring you dead in the face, you go, oh, that exam's coming up. That's probably why I'm feeling anxious compared to I'm feeling anxious for no damn reason. And then going, my mechanism for this is jumping into bed and watching, 5 episodes of Futurama and having a nap. If that's your mechanism, do it. 110%. Because the only thing that matters at the end is you feeling good. But again, getting back to the point where we started with this, It's before I went on a tangent for like 15 minutes.
I already forgot where we up to. Remind me.
I I hit a point where I was like, this isn't just me going, I've got this idea. I wanted, like, it'd be really cool to teach kids about mental health and stuff like that. It didn't hit me like that. This one was different. This one was like, I know it's going to be tough. I know that I've got to do a lot of work that I don't want to do, like maths and English and stuff like that. I go, but I love my sports and I'm very big into this mental health kind of stuff. Um, I ask a lot of people about their mental health and what are your things and this and that. I like talking about it, it's open, like there's no stigma.
Yeah, which I think we should honestly all be working towards,
Yeah, and that's the
being
thing.
able
And it's
to
like
speak about it freely.
I know one man's not going to change it all, but
Yeah.
it turned into this. I don't think I should do this. I really want to do this. And so then what's turned around for me from I don't know what I want to do with university has turned into university is probably the strongest pillar in my life at the moment because if I'm not working, if I don't feel like playing video games, if I don't know if I want to go to the gym or if I want to go do martial arts or something like that, I look back at uni and I go, but I still want to do that. I want to teach. I want to be able to teach young adults how to cope with these things that are inevitable in life. Whether it's on your wedding day, whether it's on a job interview, whether it's embedded in you and you've got anxiety, a heightened degree of anxiety. Yes, you can limit that and you can drop that down. Not everyone has to live with depression and anxiety. Some live with it worse than others, but there's definitely ways around it. I want to be kind of that guiding beacon for them to say, I get how you're feeling, and this is some, you know, some tactics that I use. Or even if I can take a day, if I can work together with my psychology class, because I'm studying to teach psychology, to get all that curriculum done before Friday, and then we spend Friday on as a wellness Friday. And I can teach them one method. We can go kick it outside. We can have a laugh. We can have a discussion. We can, you know, really ease up the tension and kind of let them have a weekend where they don't need to stress about anything. That's where my kind of drive comes from.
Yep, so that's how you got to that sort of wanting to be
That
a teacher.
that's where that teaching thing, and it's like I wish I could have a class where I can sit with these people. And I've got it. My brother's best mate, who's a very close friend of mine as well, is a teacher, and he kind of gave me this idea, and he goes, "Look," he goes, "I today spent this was a year ago, I think." He goes, "I today spent about 45 minutes with one student teaching him how to do this, whatever it was." He goes, "He left that class knowing I spent most of the time with him, but he left that class knowing how to do that." I sat at my desk with the biggest smile on my face for the rest of the day because I got through to that one student. And that kind of hit me. And I was like, okay, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And holidays. No, I'm kidding.
Holiday pay, guys. That's why we're in it.
Holiday pay.
That's the real reason. Don't worry about any of the stuff we're talking about for the next 30 minutes. We're here for holiday pay. Don't get it twisted.
We're actually really bad people.
Yeah, I'm just going to rock up and just babysit kids for 8 hours and then go home and chill.
But yeah, apologies for the long story, but that's kind of he's got a hop, skip, and a jump. A hop, skip, and a jump on the way to my path to wanting to be a teacher. That's not all I want to be in life, but at the moment, teaching is my biggest drive.
Keeping you going right now. Keeping you keen.
Definitely driving me. Having a friend that's also doing teaching is a big drive in yourself. And to quote someone that has watched our podcast before and said, you use this word too many times, let's segue into why you became a teacher.
Segue. One day we're just going to drive a segue into the actual podcast.
100%.
As a segue.
Yeah. We're going to segue into an on-set writing segues.
Yeah. Well, I guess we should sort of go into the way I've started teaching. It's funny because I knew in maybe 11 or 12 that I wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah.
I already knew. Like, it's something that I did think about for a while. the main reason why was I can't remember the exact moment, but there was this time in I don't know in what class it was. I don't remember anything specific. I just remember the feeling. Okay, so I was in a class, and then someone had asked me to help them like learn some concept, and I was like, yeah, all right, I'll help you, like all good. And then that process of helping them, teaching them how I knew it and how I could understand the process and the strategies I used, and then seeing their light bulb moment and seeing them get it and like, oh, yeah, okay, I get it now. Like that feeling was like, it was crazy. Like it's. I think that feeling was like what set it off for me.
Yeah.
Like seeing someone understand the concept I've taught them. Um, and then ever since that moment, I was like really into wanting to be a teacher. And it helped as well that in year 11 and 12, I had the same English teacher.
Yeah.
She was a great teacher. Like we got along really well. She's like a great human being. She made English like really enjoyable for me. Um, and I guess that sort of helped that sort of idea grow in my head as well. But then, as soon as high school finished, I honestly wish I did better in high school. But it's happened now, and I did okay. Um, but in my head at the time, the way I wanted to be a teacher was I wanted to do business or economics for 3 years, and then do a teaching like add-on course at the end for 1 year, which you can do. And so that was sort of the pathway I took because I enjoyed economics at the time. I really enjoyed learning about it, the concepts and stuff like that. I guess the same way you did psychology and you enjoy that.
Yeah.
But then like once I actually was there, I hated it. I freaking hated it, bro. Well, first of all, my first course was like a media course in Swinburne, but then I switched to a business course in RMIT and did that for a year. And
Yeah.
oh my god, like it was hell. Like I don't know why. I got into an economics and finance course, and that was the ATAR for that course was 90, and I got like a under 70. All right.
Yeah.
So I was in that course, and I was like, I'm way out of my depth here. When I got into the course, I was like, oh, okay, sweet. I got into a course with that you need 90 ATAR to be in.
Look at me.
Yeah, like easy, man, easy. And then I was in it. I did it for a year, and I was just running through the motions. Like most days, I'd wake up and be like, should I even go to? I'd leave the house,
Yeah.
but like I'd be like, should I even go to class or should I meet up my friend, go eat lunch, and then go home?
Mm.
Most days were like that. If I did go to class, it would be because I knew a friend that was in the class already, not because I went there to learn anything.
Of course, social event.
Yeah, that social thing kind of sort of carried on from high school into uni, even more so because I had the choice of not even going.
Yeah.
So it reached the point where like I remember this was like the semester before I changed into the VU course, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a very tragic story, right? So I had a so I had an exam for like a business subject, right? And
Yeah.
if you go to RMIT, you know that the exams they do at Flemington Racecourse, right? So me personally, I've never been there. I've never been there before this point. I'd never gone there for any exams or anything like that. And so the day of, I remember waking up early because I'm like, look, I need to wake up early, make sure I get there on time because I'm not sure where it is. Maybe leave an hour before it even starts. I mean, like an hour, get there an hour before it starts, just so I can even study a bit as well. So yeah, I wake up in the morning, I take the train to Footscray, and I'm like, oh, so I'll go. At this stage, I was still a very shy person. Like I was still in that in between phase of being more comfortable with myself.
Yeah.
So I was still sort of that high school Gianni that was sort of shy and like hesitant to talk to new people. But I was like, you know what, I need to figure out where this exam is. So I go to the information desk at Footscray Station. I'm like, oh, so which bus do I take to go to the racecourse? And like, oh yeah, it's just the one over there on that street. I'm like, okay, sweet, too easy. I went to that street and then I look at the time. I'm like, sweet, there's one in like 5 minutes. Hop on that bus and then I just ride it. I just hop on and just ride it.
Oh no.
And then 15, 20 minutes pass on the bus and I'm like, this is weird. Like I know my directions pretty well, so I was like, it's not going the right direction. I was expecting maybe to turn around at some stage, do a loop. And then I was like, oh, I went to the bus driver. I'm like, like, are you nearly at Flemington Racecourse? And he's like to me, you're on the wrong bus. You're going the wrong way. And I'm like, oh crap. But it's okay because I got there early, so I got plenty of time to make it.
Yeah.
I get off the bus. I remember at this stage, I look at the bus timetable and it's like, oh, next one's in about 10 minutes. So I'm sitting there. I remember it's like a really hot day.
Yeah.
And there's a fly bothering me. I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, I can't believe I messed up. I'm just sitting there, and then the next bus comes. I hop on that bus. I go all the way. I'm on that bus for maybe 30 minutes, and then I'm like, oh, are you almost at Flemington Race Course? And it's like, oh, I've passed it already.
Oh.
So I'm like, oh crap. So I get off that bus, and then I'm like, should I just walk it? Like I'm sort of close, sort of not. But I wait for the next bus, and then eventually that bus comes, and I end up getting off. I immediately when I get on the bus, I'm like, can you get off and you stop at Flemington Race Course so I can get off? And he's like, yeah. I get off, and at this stage, it's been like 40, 50 minutes. Like the exam's about to start in about 10, 15 minutes.
Wow.
No. At this stage, I got that wrong. So with exams, you can rock up up to an hour late.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, you can rock up to an hour late. But after that, they don't let anyone in. Okay?
Yeah.
So at this stage, it's okay. It's already started. The exam's already started.
So it's
It's
okay.
already started. By the time I got into the second bus when I messed up, it had already started. And I remember being back at Footscray because I messed up because I went the wrong direction. Went back to Footscray and I was like, should I just call a taxi? And I was like, nah, I'll just take a bus. And then this is when I end up where I am now. And at this stage, I've got about maybe 15 minutes before I can't enter the exam anymore. So I'm like, I remember running all the way from the bus stop to Flemington, and I was like, oh crap, no, I'll make it. I remember running. I run to the first like little pavilion I see, and I go there. I'm like, oh sweet, I made it in time. And I go to the person at the front, and I'm like, oh, I'm just a bit late for my exam. Where do I go to start? And then they're like, oh no, it's okay. You still go into it. And then as she's talking, I realize underneath where the table it says Victoria University. And at that time, I got RMIT.
Oh. Oh no.
And I'm like, oh crap. I'm like, okay, thank you. I didn't have a nerve to tell her. I just like, oh okay, thank you. And I left and I ran to the other side, which where the RMIT one was. And then I remember getting there, and then I'm like, oh, I'm here for my exam. And then they're like, oh, you can't take it anymore. It's been past an hour. You can't sit it.
Oh no.
And I'm like, this exam already. I had to pass it. It's a core subject, so I had to pass it in order to make it to the next semester. And so I remember sitting there on they have got like little bleachers. I remember being told I couldn't sit it, and then sitting on the bleachers for like another hour and a half until it finished. I just sat there, just thinking about life and how I ended up here.
Oh man, that sounds like a rom com. That sounds like sounds like there was going to be a record scratch, and he goes, "You're probably wondering how I got into this situation."
Yeah, that's me running after that bus.
Oh man.
Yeah, but look, that sitting at the bleachers and just thinking about like how the hell I ended up here, where I had to go to this exam and mess it up that badly. It put things in perspective. I was like, is this even really what I want to do? Like maybe I'd never wanted to sit this exam in the first place, and that's why I ended up here. And so that was the last semester. After that, I ended up transferring to VU. But I actually took the next semester. I took the entire semester off, and then I started fresh the next year. And then having gone through that, not just that in particular, but other little things leading up to that from high school, it made me really appreciate once I'd started VU. Like I was really locked in and dialed in. Like I remember I wrote a letter to myself after the first semester, which I still have somewhere, and it just says like, good job, like you've made it this far, like don't fuck it up now. You've got 3 years left.
Yeah.
That's what it says. And because that first semester I killed it. Like I was really into the work. I was interested. I rocked up to every class. I was just like, it took all that. It took 3 or 4 years after high school for me to get where I wanted to be. But if I hadn't taken that path, I wouldn't have been as grateful or as committed as I was when I started it.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I feel that.
Yeah, like I think something I want to like slowly touch on again is like I think it would have done me so much benefit if I just taken a gap year after high school, which I think a lot of people take for granted. Even then, when I was in year 11, year 12, I'd ask people like, "Oh, so what are you doing after high school?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm probably gonna take a gap year." And then in my head, I'd be like, "What a waste of time! Why are you doing that?" Like
Yeah,
it didn't make sense to me in my head at all. I'm sure that it's because of the way I was brought up in terms of valuing education. Like my parents like really wanted me to go to uni and stuff like that as
100%.
well. Like you may like relate to that as well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So like in my head, it just felt like a really stupid idea to just take a gap year. But I didn't. I thought I knew what I wanted to do, but taking that year would have really cemented that fact in my head. If
Yeah.
I'd worked full time or part time during that time, I would be like the same type of, I guess, drive I would have had if I that I do now. You know,
Do you reckon, or do you reckon going through what you went through, as bad as it was, kind of set you up?
I think it would have been the same if not similar, the similar if not the same.
Yeah,
Because say I'd work for a year. Say at the time I was working at Grilled. So if I was working, say I worked at Grilled for a year, I would have been like, okay, I worked at Grilled for a year, and now I know that I definitely don't want to do this for the rest of my life.
yeah,
So teaching is the way to go. But then it's all what ifs. You know, you can never tell.
that's it.
And
You can sit here
I can
for
just be
hours.
yeah, I can just be grateful for how it did happen and where I am now. So I'm in my last semester right now, and I can definitely say that I did keep that promise to myself of doing well. Um, and this last 2 months of my course is going to be like the most hectic thing I've ever experienced. But I'm almost I wouldn't say scared, but like it's just almost like it's new ground because for the past 6 years I've been doing uni, and that's all I've known for that long, you know. And then as soon as this is over, like it's over, you know. That's it. I've got
Yeah,
to do my teaching. I've got to be do the thing that I've been learning, leaning towards this my last 4 years, and it's kind of scary. But at the same time, I'm really excited to see what challenges it brings. Like I've been itching to be a teacher for so long now that once it happens, I'm going to be like, I can't believe I'm here.
yeah,
But it's going to be an interesting experience, and then I guess I've definitely have more stories to tell once I've started.
yeah, yeah. I'm with you on that one. I think touching on something you said before really quickly, that gap year, my family was always under the impression, or was always gave us the impression of, why would you go on a gap year? Like, what if you go on a gap year and then you don't end up going back to university? And now that I think about it, I'm like, and like, what's like, if
Yeah,
I
it
if I
doesn't
took
matter.
a gap year and I decided university wasn't for me, like, maybe that's it. Maybe that's my decision. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But like,
Yeah,
um, yeah. So I guess to kind of, to people listening that aren't really sure where they want to go, follow your gut. If you're like, I really don't know what I'm going to do at university, if you're the kind of person that needs some time to think, have that gap year. Take that little bit of time
yeah.
off.
Because only you know that. Like, it
100%.
doesn't matter what someone else says. If they're your
Yeah,
parents or not, if they say like, "Oh, what if you don't go back to school? What if this? What if that?" If you know for sure that you will go back to school or that's something you want to do, then just believe in yourself because you'll do it.
yeah. If you're the
Or
person that kind of likes to experience things, but you're not really sure which way you're going, then maybe, yeah, jump into uni. Don't be afraid to change courses and stuff like that. But don't be afraid to experience things outside of uni as well.
yeah,
Um, I've always had this saying that I've loved. I absolutely loved it. I've never been one for the universe and stuff like that, and spiritual stuff. But there's this quote that my mind always runs back to, and it's, "You are exactly where you're meant to be at this moment of time, right now," kind of thing. And it
sitting
kind
in
of,
your bedroom doing a podcast.
yeah, that's it. And it kind of brings you into the present. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of goes, I can sit here and I can say, what if I still had hair, or what if I never broke up with my ex, or what if I did this, or what if I did that, what if I stayed at Vodafone? And I go, okay, you know what? I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. I can think of all the what ifs, like you were saying before. What if you, went straight into teaching from university, or what if you did take that gap year? Sure, things would have worked out differently, but at the moment, they haven't. They've worked out like this, and right now is where you're meant to be. So I guess I've always kind of lived by that as well. Kind of stay in the moment, you know, kind of thing. Be happy where you are. Work your ass off.
Yeah. It's not to say that I haven't had fun the last 3 or 4 years.
Oh,
Like
of
it's fun.
course.
Like it's been a wild ride, and
Yeah,
I enjoy having those kind of stories to tell where I
yeah,
messed up and missed an exam. Like it's just funny. Like it's funny how life works out, and going forward you can control that. But looking back at what you've done, like it's just
yeah.
take what you can from it and then move on. Like
Who knows?
it's
If you took that gap year, maybe you never would have would have gotten the job at JB Hi-Fi, and then this never would have happened. You know what I mean? We never would have met.
yeah. Again, it's all about those what ifs, or maybe this was always meant to happen.
Yeah,
Who bloody knows? But yeah, I guess
that's
going
the fun
forward,
part.
what are you looking forward to the most once you do
Oh,
become a teacher?
rapport, man. Just creating rapport, getting to know these kids, getting to know the next generation of people that are coming through. Like, I know some of them are real freaks when it comes to like all this TikTok and all this kind of stuff. And
Yeah,
but from who I've met in my placement with grade fives, and I don't want to teach primary school. I want to teach secondary school. I'm pretty excited, man.
yeah,
Like, there's some kids in there that really got me excited about being a teacher and really got me excited about kind of going to class and going, "Morning, guys. Here we are again. I'm that person that you can look up to. Let's smash out this work so we don't have to do anything. Like, we're all on the same page."
yeah.
Um,
No,
I'd
it's
love to
so
have
fun,
I'd
isn't it?
love to have a Friday off where I can just sit here for 2 periods and kind of go, "Who wants to learn how to change a tire?" or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, who wants to learn a real life skill
Yeah,
like this? Like, who wants to learn how to, I don't know, save money or apply for a loan or cool stuff. I'd love That's the kind of stuff
cool
I'm
stuff. Yeah,
most excited about.
that's what you're thinking about when you think of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Applying for a loan. Yeah,
Who wants to
Feels
learn how to
good.
grow some hair?
You guys all get A pluses.
Yeah. Except for you're balding a little bit. What about you?
Just having my own classroom, man. Just having my own classroom and having, because I work at a high school now, and I have a friend who is a really good teacher, and just seeing him and his rapport with his class and how they come speak to him at lunchtime, see him around. Like you're walking around school on yard duty and you feel like a celebrity.
Yeah.
Like, sir, sir, sir. I'm just sitting there like a bodyguard almost and just like
Yeah,
enjoying
yeah,
it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
can't wait for that to be me one day.
It's like your own personality in a sense. It's like you just want it yourself.
Yeah.
You don't want to be you don't want to be this teacher's helper. You don't want to be the student teacher.
Yeah.
You want to be, what do they
Yeah.
call you?
Mr. Sayachak.
They call you Mr. Sajak.
Yeah, I told him to. I'm not calling him by my first name. They're not my friends.
Not your first name, but like my last name's Astar. That's 4 letters, and I tell them to call me Mr. A.
No, no, no. Mr. Sayachak. They call me that. Or
You're
Mr. I
gonna
can
give
say
all
the
the
Mr. S if it's really hard, but like Mr. Sayachak.
Man, you're gonna give some of the kids a stroke trying to say Sage. It took me like 6 months to
Hey
learn
man,
that
if the grade
stuff.
three students in placement can do it, then anyone can do it. So
Sage, okay, it's not that hard of a name, Sajak.
yeah. Um, but yeah, just that, and just because sometimes I see, like, look, I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing, but sometimes I see other teachers or like substitute teachers, even just actual teachers, and I look at them and I'm like, that's not how I would handle it, and I feel like that they're handling it weird or in
Yeah,
an odd way. Because growing up in the West, right? I don't know if you know this as well. Even when like you're in a classroom and there's always people in the class that just take the piss, right? They're not necessarily trying to make the teacher mad. They're just taking the piss, having fun, just being themselves. But then the teacher comes in and they see it as an act of like rebellion or like
yeah,
they're like, oh, stop doing this. They were like, they were like, Tim, stop doing this, stop saying that. Like,
yeah.
but he's just like being himself and just being a clown. Like,
They're
it's
either
not.
just being themselves or you're not connecting with them.
Yeah, and then they'll just like, no, if you keep this up, you're gonna get attention or see the principal. And I'm like, if it was me, I'd be laughing with him.
Yeah, or saying like, what's going on? Like, kind of
Yeah,
creating. And this
yeah,
is my thing. Don't get me wrong. Teaching is from learning what I've learned in placement. Teaching is a hard job, and I know people say, "Oh, it must be pretty easy. You get all these holidays and stuff." Yeah, we
yeah.
get holidays with the kids, but there's a lot of work that goes under the radar, especially learning
Oh,
like from placement as well. But I've also noticed after learning from that, there's a lot of people that shouldn't be teachers. There's a lot of people that you go, you clearly
Yeah.
did not know what to do with yourself, and now you're taking it out on these other
Having
students.
gone through like 4 different schools in placement, there's more than you realize. There's more
Yeah,
teachers that are doing it and see it as a job than you realize. Like,
yeah,
and you can tell them when you were in high school, you can tell which those teachers were.
that's it.
Um, because I always thought that everyone that did teaching saw it as a career, saw it as something that they wanted to do for the rest of their lives. But there are so many that are just doing it as a job, and I just don't. It doesn't sit right with me.
No,
But at
same
the
here.
same time, like it's
Not that we're knights in shining armor, that we're
yeah, like
the next best
it's a
thing,
hard job. Like it's I understand when people don't want to see it as like their whole life, but
but you got to still put like you got to understand how much impact you're going to have. These kids during
yeah,
primary school and high school see you more than they see their parents. You know what I mean? They
yeah,
spend a lot of time around you, so you better realize that you're going to have an impact. And like shout out to my placement teacher, Miss Young at Coburn Primary School. She's an absolute mad lad. She knows the kind of impact that she has on the students. So she's always on her best behavior and she's always having fun and creating rapport. And then she'll go to the staff room and she'll be like, God, I hate kids.
like in this when I first went to a staff room, I was like, this is so weird. And then
Dude,
the reason why it's weird is because you never saw teachers as people when you were in high school.
yeah.
You go to the staff room and they're like talking about the footy and they're like just saying about like, oh, this kid's a little shit. And
Yeah,
then you'll be
yeah.
like,
They don't go to the staff room and be like, oh, what is next on the curriculum? They'll be
oh
like,
my god, you know what's funny? One time she'd be like, a teacher would be like, oh, watch me, I'm going to stir up this kid. And I'm like,
dude.
and I'm
Um,
like, oh my god.
I was sitting next to a teacher in the staff room, and I reckon she was about 40, maybe 40 odd. And she sits down, she opens her lunchbox, and I swear to God, she goes, I forgot I packed myself popcorn. And she just got so hype. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Are you a teacher? But it's like you forget that they're people.
Yeah.
And I think that's the barrier that we want to break down is that sense of like if we see you at the shops or something, we're not going to turn away. But we're not
Yeah,
going
other
to
teachers
be
are like,
there.
I want to live far away from my school so that I don't see kids. But I've seen kids at the gym and I'd be like, hey, what's up?
You bench them or what? Like, yeah, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because
And
in
they'd be like,
if
you want to
you
play one on one? And I'm like, yeah. And then I get clapped by them, but it's all right.
100%, it's because we're shit at basketball, but still,
Yeah, yeah.
um, I don't know. I think you got to have that. And on a side note, if anyone is listening that is a prep teacher, my
Respect.
absolute respect to you. That is a different. So you've got high school, primary school, and then prep. If you decide to teach prep and you've got the patience, I know my cousin, um, and a friend is a prep teacher. I've got nothing but respect for them.
Yeah.
Like the amount of patience you need for those
Yeah.
kids are unbelievable.
I'm doing grade 3 placement now. And I'm like, this is my upper limits. Like, this is about as low as I would go. So I'd be sitting there talking to a kid. And then I'd be sitting here talking to a kid. And then right here, a big kid standing there. He'd just be standing there. He wouldn't say anything. I'd be like, do you need help? And he's like, yeah, can you tie my shoelace? I'll
That,
be like,
bro,
all right.
I'm talking to my grade fives in placement, and I'm like, okay, so let's unpack this and let's use inferring skills and stuff like that. And then I think about it, and I'm like, bro, kids in prep barely know their ABCs. You know what I mean? Like, as in, imagine how much difficult that would have to be trying to get them to understand a text or trying to get them to understand addition. You
Trying to
know
get them to understand a letter, bro. What a letter is and how
what
to
a
draw it.
letter is like.
Yeah.
And then you've always got to be like, because these are still babies, man. You got to be like, hey guys, what's going on? Let's have fun. I'm wearing rainbows and this and that. And whereas like you go into high school and everyone's edgy in high school. Oh, bro, my life is so depressing. That's what I want. I want to walk in there and I want to be like, hey, what's up, guys? Like, let's have a chill day or let's have a laugh, let's kick the footy, something like that.
Kick the footy inside on it.
No, not inside. Let's go outside and kick the footy. You
Let's
fool.
start tackling each other.
Yeah, let's play real rough. Who wants to play WWE? Let me
Yeah.
break a chair over your back.
Yeah. No, I
But
get
yeah,
what you mean. But yeah. I guess that's something to look forward to. And look, going forward, once we do, we'll bring up our teachers. If I ever have a very funny teacher story, feel know that I will bring it up
yeah,
and share it with all you guys because it'd be hilarious. I've actually had a few already, but I can never ever remember them off the top of my head. I need to start writing it down, honestly.
Yeah.
But plenty of stories on the way. I'm definitely very excited. I mean, I'm scared, but see how we go.
Yeah, but there's excitement in that fear.
Yeah, it's mostly excitement.
Yeah.
The scary, being scared part's mostly the imposter syndrome kicking in.
Yeah,
But
in a sense.
but we'll play it by ear. I'm definitely excited to see where we go. To see both of us. Hopefully, maybe at the same school. That'd be cool.
Oh, imagine that. That would be dangerous. We'd be taking kids 2-on-2 at the basketball court.
I just been thinking about if I got all my friends that were teachers into one school, how funny it would be. Like, it would
Let's
be
make a school. Let's make
hilarious.
our own school. Built different academy.
We'll get them all into the in the AFL.
What do you have? What do you have after pickup lines? Oh man, I've got bench press. What do you have? I've got balding 101 with Mr. A.
It's like, oh man, that's a good subject.
Oh man, I love that subject. All he talks about is how bald he is and how he's a barista. I don't know why I'd still be a barista then, but
On the side.
on the
So we
side.
do two courses. It'd be bowling and barista.
Oh yeah, I've got barista, balding and
Yeah,
baristering with Mr. A.
the double Bs.
Double
Back to back Bs. Section 2 and 3.
Yeah, what a laugh, man.
All right. I guess we can actually start to wind down a bit. There's actually something that we talked about before. We're gonna go through some. Shout out to someone who gave us this idea.
Yeah,
So we're just gonna go on Reddit, good old Reddit. If you know what it is, then God help us. But if you don't, then you should probably stay off it. So basically, we're gonna go through some unpopular opinions and just basically go through it as a lightning round and just give our thoughts towards it
yeah, we're changing up the what's on your plate because I think we all know the grand finals on everyone's plate
as
and
it should
lockdown.
be. All right, let's start with something a bit funny first. So we talked about this one before. I'm gonna read it out. So the reason your kids won't eat vegetables is because you suck at cooking them.
Yep.
Is that?
Yeah.
Do you think that's true?
110%. I mean, we're not going to go in as deep as we did before about it, but I
I'm not gonna say the thing. If you can say it, but I'm not gonna say it.
there's foods that I hate. I still hate to this day, and I think I just hate the taste of them, like beetroot and Brussels sprouts. But I was never one to shy away from especially being in a WOG household. I was never one to shy away from vegetables because they were always really tasty.
Yeah, I
Like
like vegetables.
all it takes is a bit of butter, a bit of salt, a bit of something
Man,
to
some
make it a
stir
little
fry.
bit,
Oh my
make
god,
some
like
stir fry. You know what I mean?
it's so good. I don't know what like there's some vegetables I still don't like, but like there's the thought that people go around struggling to feed their kids vegetables. Like they don't eat
Yeah,
a single vegetable, and I'm like, how does that happen?
and they've got to hide it from them and like secretly give them like. There's going to be something sus about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Like they're just boiling it and just giving it to them like that. Oh,
yeah, like you got to put something in it, man. Put a bit of flavoring in there. I completely agree with it. If your kids aren't eating, then again, we probably should have asked Alex this. But if your kids aren't eating vegetables, I reckon it's because you're cooking shit food.
but respected parents out there, right?
Oh yeah,
We're gonna
nothing
touch
but
on-
respect to the parents, but try mixing it up a little bit. You know what I mean?
yeah. All right. You shouldn't tell me a secret and expect me to keep it from my spouse. Yes or no?
This one's a bit odd because it depends on who your spouse is and if they're within that circle. Okay, so let's say I don't know who your misso is. She's not in our circle of friends.
Yep.
If someone tells you a secret that you don't know how to handle, I think that you should be allowed to, and not that you go to that person that told you the secret and say, hey, listen, I told my spouse. But if you say to them and you go, listen, they told me this, I don't really know how to act, just to kind of get that outside point of view, they're not going to go around telling their friends about their partner's friends, goldfish's dog, is this and that. If they do, that's a whole nother problem. But in saying that, if your friend is part of that friend group, I wouldn't.
Okay, so you're saying if your spouse knows that person that told you the secret, then you shouldn't tell them
Yeah. Not that if they know, because they might know through you, but if they're connected to that person,
in a way that isn't just you.
yeah, correct.
Okay. Because I think I was always a person that would just because I'm a really open book person.
Yeah.
Maybe to a fault at times. Um, But I guess that's good for podcasting because then I just tell everyone everything, so it works out. But when it comes to secrets and with whoever partner, if my partner, I would generally mostly tell them just because I like sharing with them. I like talking to them. But I guess it depends on the thing. It does depend on what it is. Maybe I should just shouldn't just tell them.
I feel like it's a very like situational based
Yeah,
question.
it's very
Depends on the
divisive. It
situation.
does depend a lot on what it is. Obviously, if they
Well,
told you that they've murdered someone, you don't want
yeah, 100%. You
keep
know
it a
what?
secret. Don't tell anyone that. I'm like,
Yeah.
I might tell someone about that.
If I said to Gianni, if I said, "Hey, listen, don't tell anybody, but Ryan did this, this, and this," that's not. You know what I mean? Be smart about it if you're going to tell you someone a secret.
Yeah, be smart about it. Yeah, I guess so. All right,
Like
next one.
last.
Um, beheading is a way better death sentence than both lethal injection and electric chair.
I mean, I feel.
Look, if I was to go, I'd do it.
I feel like, from an outsider's point of view, I feel like having beheading is such an open way of killing someone. I
I'd
feel
do
like
it.
it's a
It'd be
gateway
funny,
to
bro.
desensitization.
Yeah, I guess no. Look, if I was gonna go, I want it to be like in a plaza, try and guillotine.
You reckon?
Why not?
Everyone knowing the wrongs that you've committed.
Just
I
like
mean, I
French
guess when it's
Revolution
you,
style.
it's different because you're kind of like, well, I'm dying anyway. What difference does it make?
Yeah,
Kill me anywhere you want. Um, but I don't know. I just, yeah, as long as it's got, the guy from Shrek with the executioner
I,
with the black mask. As long as it's
number
got
three, my lord. Number three.
that guy. Um, I've got nothing on that one. That's a
You
win.
have to, bro. You have to. Come on. If he was doing it, I'd be like more than happy.
It's gonna be something cool though. I'd want it to be like imagine if they came out instead of a guillotine, you get the executioner, and he comes out with like Cloud's Buster Sword or something like that from Final Fantasy, and he just goes bah.
Yeah, that'd be one
That,
way to go.
that would
Yeah, I
be
feel like
pretty cool.
yeah, if I had to be executed, that'd probably be the way.
Yeah,
Very like stylized and like very grand.
yeah. No, actually, you
Intense.
know what? I'm with you on that one. Yeah, very grand. I'd want fireworks to come out of that guillotine as well when I die.
Yeah, and like yeah, I probably would say
Yeah,
that. But
yeah,
yeah, also just like having the last words, just on up the stage and just yelling out something really cool as you
yeah.
go.
Like what would you yell out? Like I've
Don't
hidden
put me
the
on the
One
spot.
Piece. I've hidden the One
Yeah.
Piece treasure.
Just say something really vague and like cryptic, so
Yeah,
people have to read into it and just like never know what it means.
it's been buried under my house or something like that.
Yeah, or like the right arm is missing, and
Look,
like, what he's talking about? What right arm is he talking about?
what's he talking
Just
about?
confuse the hell out of everyone, you know. But yeah, I guess we'll
I
end it
did it.
there. Thank you for joining us. If you made it this far, look, we're very proud of you,
Thank you
and you
so much.
deserve some
Yeah.
sort of award, which we will not provide, but you do deserve one. Maybe once we become teachers, we can give you a sticker.
Yep.
But thank you very much. Hopefully, we didn't lose any fans, and we gained some today. Let us know what you think in the comments. If we desperately need Ryan and Will here,
Thank you.
or if we should just break off and do our own thing.
Yep. Let us know. Let us know if you want NSYNC to stay together or if you want Justin Timberlake's to take off.
See if in the last 5 episodes.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thanks for
Peace.
listening. Stay built different.